Marsau walks into this situation thinking he is in control, but this time things do not go the way he expects. The moment starts with calm energy, almost like a regular conversation, but there is something underneath it that feels different. It is not just about talking, it is about pressure, timing, and control. And as the scene continues, it becomes clear that the control Marsau usually has is slowly slipping away. At the same time, there's another moment happening that sets the tone for everything. Tisha sits down with Nell, and on the surface it looks peaceful. They are smiling, talking, and acting like things are fine. But if you look closely, it does not feel natural. It feels planned. Tisha says she is checking on Nell because she cares, but the energy suggests something else. It feels like she is trying to get close for a reason, not just out of kindness. This is important because history matters. Tisha has not always been supportive of Nell, so when someone suddenly changes their approach, people start to question it. Is this real or is it strategy? That question becomes even stronger when you remember the tension with Destiny. Tisha has made it clear that she expects people to choose sides. So if she is suddenly okay with Nell, why is there still an issue with others being neutral? That contradiction shows a pattern. It suggests that this is not about peace, it is about control. It is about knowing what is happening and staying one step ahead. And that same mindset carries into what Marsau is about to do. Nell, on the other hand, responds in a more open way. She accepts the moment and even shows appreciation for the time when Tisha stepped in during a previous conflict. That situation with Wanda was intense. It crossed a line that should not have been crossed. And while Tisha tried to calm things down, it is also true that the situation started because of decisions made earlier. That connection cannot be ignored. This brings up a bigger idea about accountability. It is easy to step back and act like you were not part of something, but the starting point always matters, and this episode keeps coming back to that idea. Who takes responsibility and who avoids it? As the focus shifts, we see Kimmy and Maurice moving forward with their business plans. They are working on a new space, something that represents growth and progress. It looks positive, and it shows that they are focused on building something real. But even in that moment, the conversation turns towards someone else's situation. Fletcher's license issue becomes the topic, and Kimmy speaks on it in a very direct way. She makes it clear that transparency is important, but this also raises a question. Is transparency something that is expected from everyone equally, or is it only brought up when it is convenient? Maurice reacts in a quiet way, but you can see that something is there. It is not a full disagreement, but it is not full agreement either. It adds tension, even if it is not openly discussed. That tension builds slowly, and it becomes more important later. Then there's the issue that has been sitting in the background for a long time, the unfinished restaurant project connected to Marcel. This is not something new. It has been there for years, and now it is starting to feel like a problem that can no longer be ignored. 3 years is a long time. It is not just a delay. It is a sign that something is not moving forward the way it should. And when something stays unfinished for that long, people start asking questions. They want to know why. They want to see progress. Marsau, however, does not focus on that. Instead, he shifts attention to Fletcher. He brings up the license issue and starts questioning it. He frames it as concern, but it does not feel like concern. It feels like a move. It feels like he is trying to create a situation where Fletcher has to defend himself. This is where the plan starts to fall apart, because Fletcher does not react the way Marcel expects. Instead of getting defensive or avoiding the topic, he addresses it directly. He stays calm, but he does not back down. Marcel pushes the idea that Fletcher should have shared information about his situation. But the problem with that argument is simple. There was no official agreement between them. No contract, no commitment, nothing that required that level of sharing. Fletcher points that out clearly, and in that moment, the power starts to shift. Because once the logic is questioned, the whole argument begins to weaken. Marcel is no longer in control of the conversation. Then Fletcher asks a question that changes everything. He turns the focus back on Marsau. He asks if Marcel shares all of his own business matters. That question hits differently because it is not just about one situation. It is about consistency. If you expect something from others, you should be able to meet that same standard. And when that does not happen, it creates a problem. Marceau does not have a clear answer, and that silence says a lot. From that point on, the conversation belongs to Fletcher. He continues to break down the argument piece by piece. He stays calm, but his points are strong. He makes it clear that there was no obligation, and more importantly, no right for Marceau to demand that information. This is the moment where everything flips. Marceau, who started the conversation thinking he had control, is now on the defensive. He cannot redirect the situation. He cannot take back the momentum. And for the first time, he is the one being questioned. It is not loud or chaotic. It is controlled and direct. And that is what makes it powerful, because sometimes the strongest moments are not the ones with shouting. They are the ones where the truth is clear and cannot be avoided. After this, Fletcher shares the experience with Nell. Her response adds another layer. She talks about community and responsibility, which is an interesting point, but it does not fully match the situation because this was not about public impact. It was about personal business. That difference matters. It shows how people can see the same situation in different ways, and those different views can either bring clarity or create more confusion. Then comes another important moment. Maurice finally addresses the unfinished restaurant project with Marcel, and this time the tone is different. It is not casual, it is serious. Maurice is direct. He does not avoid the issue. He points out the delay and makes it clear that it is not acceptable. 3 years is not something that can be explained away easily. Marceau tries to explain, talking about technical issues and requirements, but the explanation does not match what people can see. There is not enough progress to support the time that has passed. Maurice calls that out. He makes it clear that if this was not family, the situation would already be handled differently. That statement carries weight because it shows that patience has limits. Then he introduces the idea of taking action, not in an aggressive way, but in a serious way. The message is clear. If things do not move forward, there will be consequences. Marceau is now facing pressure from two sides. First from Fletcher and now from Maurice, and this time he cannot avoid it. He has to respond. His reaction is defensive. He questions the approach, tries to push back, but it does not change the reality. The project is still unfinished. The time has still passed, and now people are expecting answers. This episode stands out because of these shifts. It is not just about drama, it's about change. It's about people no longer accepting things the way they were before. Marceau is no longer in a position where he can control everything. Others are stepping up, asking questions, and holding him accountable, and that changes the dynamic completely. At the same time, it shows how quickly situations can turn. One moment you feel in control, and the next moment you are the one being challenged. That is what makes this moment so important. As things move forward, the impact of this episode will continue. Relationships will be affected, decisions will have to be made, and the balance of power will keep shifting, because once accountability enters the picture, everything changes. As the situation continues to unfold, the pressure on Marceau does not ease. Instead, it builds slowly, and that is what makes it even more intense. It is not just one moment of being questioned, it is multiple situations coming together at the same time, all pointing back to the same issue: accountability. For a long time, Marceau has been able to guide conversations in a way that keeps the focus away from his own challenges. He is used to asking the questions, not answering them. But now that pattern is breaking. Fletcher already shifted the energy in their conversation, and now Maurice is doing the same thing in a different way. What makes Maurice's approach different is that it comes from a place of closeness. This is not just someone from the outside questioning Marceau. This is someone within his circle. That makes it harder to dismiss. It makes it harder to avoid. Maurice is not raising his voice. He is not trying to create drama. but his words carry weight. When he talks about the delay, he is not guessing. He is speaking from observation. 3 years is not a small detail. It is a long period of time where something was supposed to move forward but did not. Marsau tries to explain again, but the explanation feels familiar. It sounds like something that has been said before, and that is where the problem lies. When the same explanation is repeated without visible change, people begin to lose patience. This is where the idea of consequences becomes real. Maurice hints at taking things further if necessary. He does not say it in a threatening way, but the meaning is clear. If progress does not happen, action will follow. Marcel reacts by questioning the tone. He seems uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. But at this point, the focus is no longer on comfort. It is on results. This moment shows a shift not just in one relationship, but in the entire dynamic. People are no longer willing to ignore things that have been left unresolved. They are starting to speak up, even when it creates tension. At the same time, there is still the earlier conversation with Fletcher hanging in the air. That interaction was a turning point. It showed that Marsau's usual approach does not always work. When someone responds with calm confidence and clear logic, it changes everything.